Hi, Lit Uppies. I'm so excited to be here with you. I am so freaking pumped for you guys to get to be with Megan, who is absolutely amazing in every way, and so excited to have her here. We're talking about our biggest game changers of 2019 or 2018, hopefully 2019 pretty soon. And Megan is so the perfect person to be here to talk about this with because she is the absolute wind beneath my wings in my business. She is always the one behind the scenes, making everything work, helping me. Megan is, let me just tell you a little bit about Megan. Megan runs a company called White Space, and her job is basically to support me in everything in this business and to kind of be the second brain in my business. So I always talk to my clients about this. I say, when you're first hiring support, you just need a second set of hands, right? You need somebody else doing the things you're doing. Oh, awesome, Shannon, you still have a picture. Okay, beautiful. Thank you guys so much for telling me that. So when you're first starting out in your business, a lot of times you just need a second set of hands, i.e. like, I need to get this stuff done and I need someone's hands to help me do it. And as you grow, you need a brain, a second brain in your business. And so Megan started as my VA and was my second set of hands. She became my CEO or my OBM, sorry. And my online business manager, and really became a second brain. There we go, in my business, and then ultimately last year became my COO, my chief operating officer. So my COO. So not only my second brain in my business, but really my second like big picture thinker and ideas. So for me, the way it felt like was like VA was second set of hands, OBM was second brain, and COO is like second person that cares as much about the business success as I do, as much about what ideas we're coming up with as I do, and in fact has been the one to give me some of the best ideas in my business last year. So ultimately, that is why she's here, because I think she's going to be able to give you maybe even better perspective than I could about like, what were our game changers last year, what went well, what didn't. Looks like pixels. If you come out and go back in, I think it will work. Oh, Rita's telling you that, Maggie. Okay. As long as you can hear us, I think we'll just keep going.
Yeah.
I hate to like restart the thing. But so sorry that this was like a tech mess, but you guys know that.
That happens.
Okay, so Megan, I think that we have talked about this briefly, but actually Megan and I have, we're doing like an intensive together next week where we're going to like kind of plan 2019 and do some review of 2018. So it's interesting because we haven't fully talked about this yet. So it'll be really fun to like hear our perspectives live. Natalia said, I love that. I've always wanted to have someone to bounce ideas off of and collaborate on my business. For sure. I mean, it's taken us a while to get to that point. Like, not that Megan hasn't always been like a huge source of ideas, but I mean, in the sense where it like really does feel like we're like fully in collaboration. Does that feel true for you, Megan?
Yeah, for sure. I think that, especially because we've been working together for what, like 2.5 years, almost 3 years or something. And so I feel like it's really evolved. Like we were good friends before that. And so I think that we were a good fit to work together from the beginning. But I feel like it's just gotten to such a different level the more that we've worked together and the more that like we know how to work together, like, and know our own communication styles, but also just like growing your business together and kind of really both being in the back end of it and not just kind of like, because I think that it's different when you're just bouncing off ideas off of like a mastermind group or like friends or something like that, because they don't necessarily see all of the ins and outs of the back end.
Exactly. Yeah, no, I agree with that. Okay, so I think that like, I think one of my first game changers was just being really clear in 2018. Like, I feel like we started the year super clear on what we were doing and kind of like what our plan was. And I think pretty much every year we've added one income stream. And I think like going into 2018, we were already clear on what that was. Does that feel true for you?
Yeah, I think that we talked about your percentage model like at the end of 2017 or something. So it was really like 2018 when you were implementing that.
Yep. Yeah. So I think that like, I just want to look at my notes. Sorry, guys. I know, because I wrote this down because I didn't want to forget. So I went on Megan did a white space retreat with her clients in February of 2018. And I already knew at the beginning that I was going. Sarah just called me. So if I went away for a second. I'm like, don't you know I'm on live stream? No, so we went into 2018 knowing that I was going to add the percentage model, which you guys are all familiar with now, where I have a base rate with clients, but then we charge a percentage. But then I went to Megan's white space retreat in February, and we spent a lot of time deciding what's really true for a Lit Up Life. And one of the decisions we made, I'm curious to see if you remember this moment, Megan, but it was like such a light bulb for me, is that we decided that a Lit Up Life was really built to be like deep, meaning like I love to work one-on-one. I'm not planning on not doing that. Like I wasn't like planning on this huge scalable model for that, although I think the percentage is scalable in the sense of income, but not necessarily clients, right? And you've always been such a supporter of me in wanting to do it my own way, which I really appreciate. You've never been someone that's like, yeah, but like we could just scale in this way. You've always been like, cool, let's do it. And so we both kind of agreed, like, we just have to see a Lit Up Life as this business that's meant to go deep and not wide. And then we decided, because Megan also works for us in Happy Thoughts, and we decided that Happy Thoughts was really meant to be the arena which we went wider. So Sarah and I launched Happy Magic and had the Happy Magic course. And so I think that was game changing in the sense that it felt so clear. What felt true for you around that?
Yeah, I think that like, because I remember talking at the retreat, and you were just kind of like, not necessarily sure how the pieces fit together, and not like, you were kind of almost like wanting to scale both at the same time, or like trying to figure out like what felt right in scaling each business. And I feel like just by talking through it, I was like, right, so how about like a Lit Up Life, like you just lean into what's already working, which was the one-on-one, and allowing it to be that deeper connection with coaching. And then Happy Thoughts is more of like the broad reach everybody and have like a bigger audience type of thing.
Totally. And I think that it's sort of like the thing I talk about a lot, but I think that I just want to illustrate that like we have the same conversations and do the same work, which is like know what you're good at and lean into it. Know what you're good at and lean into it. Know what your strengths are and lean into them. And I think that the longer I've been in business, the more permission I've given myself to do that. And I think 2018 was one of the most permission giving years for me, and just going, listen, I know what I'm fucking good at. I'm good at long-term one-on-one. I'm good at going deep with people, and I want to scale from that place. And I think having the clarity of like, listen, this is just what I'm really good at and what I love. And then having the support of someone being like, it's cool that that's just really what you're good at and what you love, was so game changing. So if you're listening, I feel like one of the takeaways there is like, get really clear on what that is for you, because it's so easy to build a business around that. And it's so much harder because I've done it the other way when you're trying to be like, well, I actually hate all this shit, but sure. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And I think like what you were saying about permission, like, I think that it's almost like you having that conversation at the retreat was kind of like, from my perspective, like a conversation that we had already had. And so it was just easy for me to be like, no, Lacey, you already know this. And it was more about you giving yourself permission to have a Lit Up Life and Happy Thoughts kind of represent different things for you and have a different role. And so it was more about like leaning into the clarity that you already knew and giving yourself permission to move forward from that space.
Totally. And then like from your perspective as someone Lisa Dove said you still need to meet Megan. She lives in
I know. She was like 20 minutes away from me.
Yeah. Oh, that would be amazing. Sheridan says she loves that. Awesome. Yeah. So from your perspective, did it feel like it was easier to support me and the business in like having that clarity? Like, was that like game changing as far as like running the back end operations and just being like, okay, cool, like this is what we're about here?
Yeah, well, I think that it helped both of us to kind of know what we were focusing on for the year. And like kind of, it was almost like serving as a filter of like, okay, you know, something comes up. Does this fit into this like clarity that we came to? And if it does, because I feel like there were a couple, I can't remember off the top of my head, but I feel like there were a couple things that came up kind of early in the year or midway through the year that were like, we kind of discussed whether or not it was a good fit for you to move forward with. And that was kind of the barometer that, or one of the barometers that we used to kind of help decide where you should be focusing throughout the year. And so I think that having something like that with like to kind of serve as that filter that you can run it through, like anytime that a new opportunity or decision or anything like that comes up, is just super helpful with maintaining that focus and not just getting distracted. And then like halfway through the year, you're not sure what you're doing anymore.
I think that's so true. And I love that you brought that up because I definitely know that to be true. Like, in the sense that when we decided like a lit up life is about depth, like even our Facebook ad strategy was about depth. It was about getting my video more in front of the same audience. It was about, or you know what I'm saying? I'm acting like I'm just talking to you, and I'm like, you know what I mean?
I know.
For those of you watching, for what I actually mean is like when we were running ads this year, we focused almost entirely and exclusively on the audience I had already built, and we focused very, very, very little, if at all, on cold traffic because we had fully decided that a lit up life was about going deep, deep, deep with our existing audience, our existing clients, and continuing to build that one-on-one funnel, right? And so, yeah, it was just like an easy question. It's like, if we're going to do Facebook ads, yeah, we're going to make them about going deep. If we're going to do a challenge, it's going to be like to go deeper with our audience on stuff we've already done. So I think that's a really good point. Emily has a question. She said, I'm curious about how you would define the single biggest impact working with Megan has for you, Lacey. Does working together allow you to do more or work smarter or both? Oh, Lord. I mean, I probably am going to have a hard time answering that without crying. Kidding, not kidding. I mean, working with Megan is the reason I have a business, truthfully, because I couldn't do what I do if she wasn't great at what she does. And I think that like that's something that has also been game changing, is that we both know what we're really good at. Like Megan is so clear on what she's really good at, and I'm so clear on what I'm really good at, and we both really stay in our lane for the most part. Like I very rarely have shit to say about how Megan is operating because we really like found our groove there, and she very, very rarely has anything to say about how I'm operating because we both know what works. And so, I mean, yeah, it allows me to do more. It allows me to work smarter. It allows me to do the thing. It makes my business more fun because I'm doing the things that are actually fun for me. And it allows me to do way more of the stuff I actually love, is maybe the important way to say it. Like I get to coach more clients because Megan deals with all the tech shit that I don't have to deal with. Like we rebuilt my website this year. And Megan did everything from like hiring the graphic designer to like executing the project plan to meeting with the developer to everything. And I got to spend my time coaching because she was doing that. And she's really good at that. The developer is also her boyfriend, which helps. Makes meetings easier. But like, right? Do you think that's true, Megan?
Yeah. And I think that like another thing that I noticed with you, especially in 2018, I think more so than previous years, is that anytime that you had something come up, that it was like something with your puppies, or like you were sick, or you were traveling or something like that, it was just so much easier to like not be overwhelmed during that time and to just like kind of continue like business as usual, essentially. Like maybe you had to cancel a couple calls here or there or something like that, but it wasn't like as much of a setback as maybe it would have been. And I think of like for you, just like energetically too, where you could like go away and come back, and it seemed to be easier for you to get back into business because you know, everything was just kind of running smoothly while you were gone.
Totally. I think that the one thing I do want to add, and then we can get back to the game changers, but I think this is just important because I think people probably have questions about this. And I just want to like be so clear about this because I think like it's so perfect, Emily. You just said that, and I'm gonna tease you for a second, but I don't mean you at all. But I think it would be easy to watch this and be like, "Oh, I want a Megan." And here's what I can say about this, because I did that to a coach I had previously. She had like an amazing OBM. And I remember just being like, well, yeah, if I had an Erin, it would be easy. Here's what's true. I have a Megan because we have worked on our relationship, and I'm like actually not fucking kidding, weekly, if not daily, for the last 3 years.
Plus, like more than that.
Yeah, like we make time to have friend calls. We've gone on vacation together. We've traveled together more than once. We check in with each other all the time. Like, you know, we try very, very hard on both ends to make the relationship the priority. And so that's why we are where we are after 3 years. I think where a lot of people feel frustrated is they try to hire a man. This is where I felt frustrated pre-Megan. And Megan knows this because I would bitch to her about all my VAs pre-Megan, which is why I think she finally caved in and was like, do you just want me to be your VA so we can like stop having this conversation? Megan's laughing.
I just remember having a conversation with you and you were like, is it me? At this point, I feel like it's me. And I was like, well, I mean, it's not entirely not you.
It's maybe a little bit. But my point being is I would get frustrated because I would be looking for this Megan and not having it. And what I finally realized, and what I have realized over time, is that because we both had bad experiences in the past, just like listen, I've been divorced. And so in this relationship now, I show up entirely differently because I'm like, oh, I can see how like all these ways I didn't show up before. So my point is, we work very considerably, and we have definitely had disagreements at times. We have definitely had points where one or both of us were unhappy in different ways. And we have always, always, always made the relationship and working through things the priority. So give whoever you hire next, give them grace and like work on that relationship with them. Do you agree with that, Megan?
Yeah. And I think that one of the things that's important about that too is that both of us are always willing to like look at what we are doing or how we could like, how could I have communicated that better? Or how did I misinterpret this thing or whatever it is? Like, I feel like both of us are really good at, that is just kind of like prioritizing the relationship and showing up the way that like, because it's so important to both of us. And so we show up in that way, like making that the priority.
Yeah. I think about it like, I think that a lot of, again, I say this probably on every live stream in some way, shape, or form, but I think this industry tells you that things should be perfect and that things should be perfect all the time in every way and everything. We are not perfect, nor has our working relationship been perfect, but it's perfect for us because we always work through it, just like any good relationship. Like, I bet any one of you on here could tell me 10 things wrong with your partner, but like at the end of the day, you're working through it, right? And it's the perfect relationship for you in that sense. And I think that that's what we really found here. And I hope that's something that we can just like convey and communicate, is that like, she's the best thing that's ever happened to my business, and it hasn't been without issues. And I know because she sent me a card that said this recently, that the best thing that ever happened to her business.
I was wondering if you got it.
I just got it today. But again, like, I haven't been a perfect client either. So I think that that's just good to know. Rita said, question, Lacey, you already know that my 2019 action plan is to get an OBM, probably from Whitespace. Perfect. When you made Megan the COO, was there any tangible difference in Megan's duties, or was she already doing that role and you just had the title to catch up with it? Ooh, I'll answer that, and then I want you to answer it from
Yeah.
your perspective.
Yeah.
I think both. Like, I think she was already doing many duties that felt worthy of that, but also we really changed some of our compensation packages in the sense that like everything stayed the same in many ways, but like Megan really takes like initiative in new ways as the COO, like i.e. like list growth has incentives and bonuses related to it. And so in other words, like I think one of the biggest things that changed was more on my end in the sense that I wanted her to feel like if my business grows, you grow with it. If we make more money, you make more money. If we have a big win, you immediately see cash from that win. And that was, I think, the biggest change is that because she deserves it, because she is building this business just as much as I am, like I want her to feel like she has investment and she gets results from those wins versus just like a happy client because she's doing the work. Does that make sense? What would you say to that, Megan?
Yeah, I think like it was definitely both, because I think that there were a lot of things that I was already doing where it felt very like the natural next step in our relationship. But I also think that I like it also coincided with me taking more responsibility over these projects and having a little bit more of like just being a little bit more invested in the success of the company, like more than just like, I mean, like obviously I always was, but like having a little bit more of that like ownership in the building of the business role.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like we've never talked about that. Not together, obviously, but I mean like live, which is interesting because like one of the reasons we did this too is because it's just like aligned and congruent for me. Like I do it with my clients. Why would I not be doing it with Megan? Like I believe so much in this percentage model, i.e. it's why we're doing the partnership now. It's why I do percentage with my clients. It's why we do it in our working relationship too, because I just think that like when we can all win, it's so much better. And like it was starting to feel incongruent for me that I was having these big leaps and these big wins in my business, and that you know, Megan would work to set up a whole challenge and do everything that needed to be executed from like the emails to the landing page to the daily post and whatever. And then wasn't like, I mean, obviously I was happy with her and I was still paying her, but she wasn't seeing that result, so to speak, from it. And so we just like worked to change that. And I think that with that, the title changed as well.
Mm-hmm.
Rita said, I love that structure. Was that only at the COO level and not the VA or OBM level? Yeah, I think it's when I think we did it all at the same time. It was like, it's time for you to be COO and it's time to like restructure how that works. Is that how you remember?
Yeah, I think it all kind of happened like at the same time, like within the same month or something like that.
Which I think leads us to the next game changer for both of us, I think, which was just focus. Like Megan knew what her projects were to focus on. I knew what mine was to own. We knew the vision that we had for the company. And I think that that made all the difference. And I can tell you there were plenty of times where like it would have been easy to change it or it didn't seem like it was going well. Like one of the projects Megan had was list building. And there was like a period of time there where we were like, what the fuck is going on here? Because this is not working how we want it to work. And I think it would have been really easy for both of us to be like, cool, it's not that important. Let's pick a different project. But we were both like, cool. So we're actually going to lengthen the term of this project and see like what's going on here and test it and tweak it and make it better. Right?
Yeah. And I think it just allowed us to look at other pieces of it too, where it wasn't just like we started to not only look at list growth, but then like looking at other things around that, around like your newsletters and your funnels and some things like on your website and stuff like that, that it was just like allowed us to bring a lot more like having that one focus. Like I feel like this is the clarity that we had earlier allowed us to focus, but then the focus also brought more clarity too, because we had one thing that we were focusing on. And so we were able to just like dive in a lot deeper, and it kind of made us more aware of a lot of things, other things around that needed some attention.
Totally. And I think both of those things kept us from like ping-ponging around or changing course. Like you said, when we were doing the ads, we were super clear and focused. When we were doing the list building, we were super clear and focused. Like, it's just been really interesting to be able to see how much sticking in something, and obviously I talk about this all the time, but I mean, I think it's great with Megan's perspective here about how much us sticking in something has made a difference. Because there were times, and Megan can speak to this too, earlier on in my business where I would be more inclined to tap out if something wasn't working. Do you think that's true?
Yeah.
I can't. I don't know what else to say.
Like, I'm trying to think of like I remember situations of being like, yeah, well, maybe don't tap out quite yet. Like, let's look at some different things that might be playing into this. But I can't remember like specifics. So
I remember one thing that you said to me, and I've probably said it to clients since then. But you know, early on in your business, it's just easy to freak the fuck out about shit. And I remember I sent like 2 emails and was like, oh, well, this launch is just shit, huh? And Megan was like, yeah, or, you know, we could just decide that 2 emails aren't actually a launch. And I was like, oh, boom, that's so true. And I've probably said that to clients after that. But yeah, I think like we have gotten so good, both of us, over time of being like, we're just staying focused on this no matter what. Like 2 emails is not a launch. 2 months of focusing on something is not a result. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Okay, we have more questions. Heaven says, were there any mindset pieces you had to work through when it came to giving more responsibilities or releasing responsibilities to Megan? She's laughing because there was a lot. I mean, I'm just like a control freak by nature. And I think that most of my story with like the other people I worked with before Megan was just that nobody could do it as good as me. And over time, I've just realized that like Megan actually can do a lot way better and way faster than me. And like, I think there's some ego stuff in there, being okay with that. Like being okay with like, oh, like actually I'm not the end all be all. Like I actually don't know everything. Megan knows a lot more than me and does most of it faster. And I know a lot more than her in other aspects of the business and do that. And that's the beauty of it. But yeah, I think I had to set my ego aside. And I think I also had to just build that trust with her. So that's why those like weekly calls and making time to also be friends and to like know her life and to like love her as a human were really important, because that built my trust muscle, which like changed my mindset of like, this is a human that like believes in me and wants me to do well too. Like I can just trust her. And then like, certainly there were times where like she made a mistake, but I remember one time you sent out like the wrong email or something and you were like devastated. And
it was like the first time too. And I was like, oh my God, Lacey's gonna fire me. She's gonna hate me. Like, I just remember being so upset.
And I remember thinking like, well, shit, when I was sending my own emails, I sent them out wrong way more than Megan has at this point. So this isn't even a thing. Like, not only would this have happened if I was doing it, it would be happening more, you know? So I think just having those moments of realization of like, there's pretty much nothing that's like a non-fixable problem in this business. The only thing that would make things difficult and not fixable is if we weren't working on our relationship.
Totally.
Like a fucking email doesn't matter. You know what I mean? Which is also funny because before we hired Megan for Happy Thoughts, we actually sent out the wrong email for our Happy Magic launch like a gazillion times. And I remember messaging Megan and saying to her, like, I've always been grateful for you, but my gratitude is like times 20 because like I'm remembering how difficult it is to actually send that right effing email. And she was like, yeah, it's fine. Right?
Yeah. Well, and I think that it's like sometimes you just kind of like forget how even like just like time consuming things are, where you think, oh, this should just take me 5 minutes. But then it ends up taking like 20 and you're like, shit, why did I spend that time trying to do it myself when I could have just like passed it to Megan and she could have gotten it done in like, you know, whatever, because I do that all the time. And so I'm so used to like that's my wheelhouse where I don't have to like remember all of the things just because like I'm so used to constantly doing it.
Totally. I'm gonna, you're probably like, you're such a bitch, but I'm gonna say this too. Like, I'm kidding, but like Megan was nervous to get on here today because this isn't something that she normally does, right? So I think that she was like, so I'm actually like getting pretty nervous, and I'm like, oh, I like forget. I feel like we just like both do everything together. So I'm like, oh, that's interesting. Like, it didn't even occur to me. Of course you're nervous. You never do these, you know. But it's funny because I feel like we do everything together, but we're both very much in our own lanes.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think that like part of the clarity and like one of the reasons why we work so well together and why I think that like 2018 was such a good year for you is because we were able to just kind of stay in our own lanes too. And like you were able to do a lot of just the like your things. And then I could just kind of do my things. And like we know like which is which, right?
Totally. One thing I have learned over time, and I think this goes back to Heaven's question and is probably like the biggest mindset piece that I have to remind myself of when I want to be a control freak and why 2018 was better for me, is because I really just realized that Megan just always has my best interest at heart. So like she can't fuck it up because she always has my best interest at heart. It doesn't mean she won't ever make a mistake or that we won't ever make a wrong move or that tech isn't going to like shit the bed on us sometimes or whatever. But like what I know for sure is that Megan has my best interest at heart. So if you can find a VA, an OBM, a team was one of the next ones that I was going to talk about. So here you go. Team was a game changer. If you can find someone and build that relationship where you know they always have your best interest at heart, it doesn't fucking matter if they know Active Campaign, they can learn it. Mm-hmm. But if you know that you have someone on your team that truly has your back, I think that is game changing. And that's why it's good to have a good coach too. If you know you have a good coach that truly has your best interest at heart, it's so much easier to soar and make decisions and move forward. And when you're constantly questioning if your team or if your coach or whatever really has your best interest at heart, or if they're just trying to grow their business, or if they're just trying to get it done so they can move on and do their stuff, I think that's hard. And what I know for sure is that Megan is never just trying to like grow her own shit and move on. Like she wants to see A Lit Up Life succeed just as much as I do. Does that feel true for you?
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think that that's like, I think that that's one of the reasons that our relationship has worked so much, because like, you know that you can trust me because I'm like, I'm like your biggest fan. Right. And so I think that knowing,
I'm going to start to cry.
Stop. But I think that, like, just again, to reiterate that, like, building that relationship is a big thing.
Go on.
I think that just like, again, building the relationship is the key. And I think that knowing that you can trust someone, like when there's somebody in the back end of your business, like I didn't know Active Campaign when I first started working with you. I learned it, right? I taught myself most of the things that I do now. But I think that the most important thing was that like you trusted me and I trusted you, because we both want each other to succeed and we wanted to like build a lit up life together.
Absolutely. So yeah, like in team being the next point. So just to recap, because we're kind of jumping, but we've had clarity, focus, and team. So in team being the next part, it really is like, I think that sometimes we're so set on like, I need a team member that knows my exact 5 things and da-da-da. And like, maybe, and that's super useful, don't get me wrong, but what you really need is somebody that you feel like shares your mission and cares about you and cares about your business. And obviously that develops over time. So I think that's another thing to say too, which is like, give it time to develop. Mm-hmm. You're not going to like, I feel like I could literally like, I mean, Megan always jokes that she could like take down my business with a single password, which is like not untrue and something we're working to fix in 2019 because I think it gives her hives. But like, I literally would trust her with being able to take down my entire business. Like, I mean, I would hand her like, and probably have like all of my credit cards, my bank accounts, my everything, because she's never going to do anything that doesn't have my best interest at heart. So, but that takes time to build. So give yourself time for that too. Allegra says, understanding each person's role really hits home. Everything is possible with crystal clear communication. 100%. We've even gotten to the point where like Megan will tell me like, this is how much lead time I need. Like, and I'll be like, this is like, we really try to get super clear on like timelines and expectations, whatever, even to now where we know each other really well. Like I try very hard. I don't think I do this all the time, Megan, but I try to always give her a timeline when I have a desire to get something done, or to always give really clear expectations. And if I don't give clear expectations, probably because I don't really give a shit, but like the point is, I think that crystal clear communication is really the thing. Most people that I know that are unhappy with their team members, it's like, but do they even know what your expectation is? Right?
Yeah. And I think that like knowing what's most important to you is also kind of key in that. Where like, is it more important for you that like to just get something done in the short term? If so, like look for someone who's specializing in the thing so that you can get the help with the launch or whatever. Or are you looking for someone who can actually like grow with you as you grow? In which case you might want to start with someone who you can really just like build that relationship with and they can learn as they go. And I think that like neither one is wrong, right? I think that and you probably need both in your business at different times. But I think that just being clear on like what you need and what's most important to you and not expecting like all of the things all at the beginning and just allowing it to be different in different phases of your business and to give it time.
Everyone's saying like trust and having someone that has your back.
Yeah.
100%. So I want to wrap up the team piece a little bit because then we have one more game changer that we want to talk about. But I would love for you to speak to the team piece a little bit more, Megan, because you really run my team. Like when I think of my team, I think of you first, and then I think of like the fact that you run the team, so to speak. And so that side note for me, that is also a game changer for me, is that I just get to talk to Megan. That like we have many team members, but I don't communicate with them. And I don't mean to say that in like this snobby way at all. I mean to say it in the way of Megan is operations, right? And so me getting my nose all in the operations all the time just makes it messy. And it makes it messy for the team too. And it also really streamlines where I'm like brain dumping and like sharing versus like if I was like, hey, Kelly, can you do this? And also Megan, can you do this? And everybody's going to be like, this bitch is crazy. So anyway, maybe you could speak to like running a team within the team.
Yeah, I think that like, again, I think that the clarity that you and I have of like, what are the things that we're working on and just being super focused and kind of allowing essentially everything to be my responsibility to then decide what, like who we need to find. And I think, again, it goes back to the trust where like you have complete trust in me that I'm not going to hire someone who's like batshit crazy or, you know, anything like that, because I only hire people that I trust. And a lot of the people like you've, I think, met all of your team members.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah.
I think it like in real life for most of them, but I just think that being like, for me, being able to have that freedom of not needing to like check with you on every single thing, but just saying, hey, like we got this covered. What do you need? Like, I'll take care of, you know, who is going to handle this thing. And I think that has like, at least from my perspective, saved you a lot of brain space where like, you're not needing to know who's doing what and when and how, but just knowing that like the things are getting done. And I think that just it allows for more hands in your business without you needing to be involved in every single aspect of that.
Totally. I think again, like it's such a testament to like know what you're good at. Like I know I am a coach. Like I am an excellent coach and I know a lot about like macro business strategy and I know a lot about the day-to-day of what needs to get done to get it there. I am not a project manager. I'm not a project planner. I am not great with like the details of shit like that. Like Sarah and I had the Happy Thoughts retreat this weekend. It was amazing. People were like laughing and crying and like diving super deep and like all of this stuff. And like all of that was like, ah. You know what annoyed me the absolute most at this retreat? Thinking about like, did we need to order food on Instacart? Like, and we even had a retreat concierge. Like I was involved in it this much, and the frustration I feel around like having to think about the minute details is so high. Like I'm like, I don't know, do we need 2 buffalo chicken dips or 1? I don't fucking like. I hate that. Does that make sense? But I'm so great with like the things I'm great at. And Megan is so good at being like, no, we need 3 buffalo chicken dips because you have 6 people, and then we're going to order it in this way, and we're going to make sure they come at this time so it's easier and perfect, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Rita said always 2. Actually,
always.
I think we probably ordered 4, so maybe always 4. But like, I'm just saying, it's like, know how your brain works and then get someone to supplement that. Like maybe your brain works like Megan and you need a coach that can supplement that higher vision. Maybe your brain works like mine and you're realizing you really need a team member stat, right?
And I think that like, it's knowing your strengths and when like being able to pass off the baton when you need to. So my boyfriend, Aaron, is a web developer. And so like, he's kind of the big brain, like the big picture kind of person. And he's kind of more like Lacey, whereas like I'm super details oriented. I'm like really like small, like day-to-day kind of stuff. And whenever we travel, I'm the planner where I map out all the details. I'm in charge of everything and directions, which Lacey knows this too. And Aaron and I have a rule where if like I'm in charge until something goes wrong, where then I need to let go of control and pass, like we call it like pass the plane, like because he was in pilot school, so like it was like my plane, your plane, and I need to, when it's not my plane anymore, I let go of control and I let him do his thing. And I think that like you and I do that really well, where like you know like when you're in charge and you know when to pass it to me. I know when I'm in charge and I know when to pass it to you. And I think that's just come with a lot of experience, but also like knowing how we complement each other in that way.
Oh my God, I love that. We're going to start saying that. I'm going to like,
you're playing.
Something like passing the plane, girl. There you go. But I think that's so true. I really do. Like, and I think that required a lot of communication before, and it requires less now because our roles are so clear. But yeah, that's huge. So, I mean, team was absolutely a game changer for me. The thing I want to say though is that, again, you're looking at 3.5 years in. So like if you're watching this and you're 6 months in, I am not by any means advocating that you go out and get a COO. I am advocating that if you know you want to grow this thing long term, you get a VA and you start building a fucking awesome relationship with them, right?
Yeah, honestly, even just like a couple hours a week or something. Like I think that I knew all of the people that I've ever hired. I knew all of them before hiring them. And I think that that has made all the difference because, you know, we already had some type of relationship. And so working together just kind of felt natural. And I think that that's just so important, just to have, like, allow yourself the time, even if it's just a couple hours a week, to start building that relationship.
Sharon says, love this. It's so interesting for me as I now have a little team, which is starting to grow. Thank you. So good. The other thing I'll say on team, and then we'll move on because the last one is, I think, maybe one of the most game changing for me personally, is I say this to my clients all the time. Does your team know how to make you happy? Like, I think there's nothing more frustrating for Megan than when she doesn't know how to make me happy. Right? When it's like, what the fuck do you even need? Like, how can I help you? Right? When I'm like, here's what makes me really happy. And when I constantly communicate what makes me really happy, like recently she helped me with something big while I was at the retreat. And I feel like every single day I was like, you are making me so happy. This is so amazing. I am so happy. This is so wonderful. That's so useful for her to know what makes me happy and how to make me happy, and vice versa. Like, Megan will tell me, like, I love it that you got me this on time, or I love that you did this for me, or whatever. Like, it's so it goes both ways, but certainly you're responsible for your team knowing how to make you happy.
Yeah, and I think that, like, just from the team, like the team perspective on that, like, I am always super appreciative of like clients who are like, oh, great, thank you so much. But like to have a client that goes the extra mile and says like, I so appreciated that you did this thing, or I loved how you did this thing, or, you know, something like that, like adding that little bit of like why something made you really happy, or like what that meant to you, or something like that. I feel like that allows me to understand my clients and their needs a lot more, so that I can show up and serve them even better moving forward.
I started with a new client this morning, and I said to her, like, your job is to tell me what you like and what you don't like, and my job is to adjust for that. So if you're like, I love it when you give me to-dos like this, and I hate it when you coach me like this, perfect, let's roll. I'm happy to adjust for that. But like, I'm not going to know unless you're telling me. And I think that's exactly what you're saying too.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, Emily has a question. You may have answered this, but is the difference between Megan OBM and Megan COO how you compensate her? It's not so much that she took on bigger responsibilities. No, it's both. So as far as like responsibilities, here's how I would explain it. Like, before we would work on like a project together, like let's use list growth as an example. Before, it would be like we came together and we're like, what are we going to do in this way, and what timing, and da-da-da. In handing her the compensation model and the new title, what it became is like Megan took on list growth in our business. Like, I got to step out of that for a little bit and just focus on like, how am I serving my clients, and what amazing content do I want to put out next? And then Megan was like, cool, with that amazing content, here's how we're going to do the list build. It's not because I couldn't, but it's because now that she has those higher level responsibilities, I get to do more other stuff. Like, I'm starting the podcast. Like, the only reason I get to start the podcast and do this whole new innovative thing, not only because Megan contributed to that idea, but also because I know she's got the projects, and so I get to have a project. So like, it's almost like we divided projects instead of both being in everything. Does that feel true for you, Megan?
Yeah, and I think that like that was definitely something that, at least from my perspective, felt really good to work toward after a couple years, because we had worked on so many things together that then I felt like I could take something and really run with it, where I already know you well enough, and I know what makes you happy, and I know what the goals are and what the focus is, and all of that. So it wasn't like I was in charge of a project and I was like, I think that this is gonna be what we want. And I think that that really made a huge difference in transitioning into the COO role a lot more smoothly.
So one of the things was like when Megan took on like list growth as an example last year, then she came to me and was like, cool, it's like, I need you to create a new challenge. So I still had to do something for that, but it was like very different in the sense that she was like, I have this like plan for this project, but I still need you to do this piece of it. Or for me with the podcast, I can be like, I have this plan for this project, but what I need you to do is find us an editor. So it doesn't mean we don't collaborate. It just means we both own them. So like Megan's like, cool, get me a challenge. And I'm like, yeah, sure, no problem. And I'm like, cool, get me a podcast editor. And she's like, yeah, sure, no problem. Right. Does that feel true?
Yeah. I found that, by the way.
Yeah. Look at that. Ask and you shall receive. Okay, here's the last one. I don't know if it feels like as big of a deal for you as it does for me, but I feel like this changed last year for me. But we've always been good at repurposing content because that's always been something that's important to me. But last year we upped our mother effing content repurposing game. You're laughing. You're like, no, we didn't.
I mean, like, it did. I think that it probably was like a much bigger deal for you than it was for me. So I'm like really interested to hear a lot of what you say about this.
So for me, I have been creating content in my business every week since the first day that thing open. Probably when I went through my divorce, we really leaned into repurposing a little bit more, but for the most part, like I have been like in the content, you know what I mean? And I love it and I teach it and I'm obsessed with it and it's what's grown my business. But at a certain point, like you want to be able to be doing the higher level content instead of just the day-to-day content. So I really got into the Happy Thoughts live streams, doing live streams at least once a week in this group, making super value-based challenges for you guys, that kind of stuff. And it's hard to have the clients do that, right? And I did it for a long time, but there was a point where I was like, the hour I have a week, I want to be like on video in front of my group instead of like writing the content, right? And so knowing that we were repurposing every piece of content that I've ever written and seeing that all that work that I put in was paying off for me over and over again was so freeing. And it's also what let me really take time off when I needed it too. But it's because I put in all that work. So if you're new, I'm not saying like, don't put in that work. I mean, I was like, wrote content every week for 2+ years, right? But then the other thing that happens is this, you get further and further away from remembering what that stuff was like. Like I'm 3.5 years out from remembering what it felt like to feel so confused about ideal client. Now, granted, I still work with clients that have that and whatever, but I am obsessed with the fact that we're pulling something that I wrote when I was in that, and now I get to update it with my current thoughts. But with that perspective, like I feel like that has made my content so much fucking better. Because if I was trying to write it from this perspective, it would be missing something. And if I was just writing it from that old perspective, it would be missing something. Bringing it together has been so amazing. But the way I bring it together, and Megan, I'll pass the baton or pass the plane to you on this part, is that Megan puts it together for me and then hands it to me and I just get to tweak it. So she's doing all the back end work of finding it, curating it, putting it in a library, putting it in front of me. And then I get to do the work I'm really good at, which is like, I think this about this differently and I want people to know this and I think people have to have this in their business. And I get to add all that and it takes a fraction of the time and it creates better content.
Yeah. And I think that like what's cool about that too is that like you're still able to write because you're still writing actually quite a bit. Like I would say still like not nearly as much as you used to, but like that's because you've replaced the writing time with live streams, which then we repurposed like also. But I think that the point is that like you're able to like still be in it without needing to be part of like all of it, where you're not making like you're not needing to make all of the little decisions about like what post goes out when and where and why and what are we doing this week versus next. Like sometimes we'll talk about that a lot, but like a lot of it is just like you're having the content in front of you and adding in your current thoughts and your current spins, and then you're able to then like go put that new energy into it when you're posting it in the group or, you know, newsletter or wherever it is.
Absolutely. And I think that it has actually allowed me to create a lot more inspired content because I don't have that pressure anymore of like creating new every week. And once that space opened up, I feel like this year I created more content that feels like me and more inspired than maybe I ever have, because I've had the mental space, like you were saying, where I'm not thinking about all the specifics, like, you know, like where is all this going and what and how are we reusing it. Like I get to get on live stream and be like, here's what I think about this, and then you guys are taking it and you're repurposing it and you're making it worth it. And the other thing is it always feels really, really, really worth it when I create content now. Like I remember at the beginning of my business when I would create content feeling like, oh, okay, and now that's just gone, you know, like I spent hours writing that and that was kind of it. And that's why we actually started repurposing a very, very long time ago, because I was like, I'm never going to do this much work and not have collateral from it and not have it be worth it. So even when I get on live stream now, it's not just worth that live stream, it's worth the posts that we pull from it and the recap that we do and the email it creates and all of that kind of stuff. So I'm never in a position where I feel like I'm working and it's not working, or I'm working and it's not worth it, right? Because we're so intentional about repurposing, about making sure the content works for me, where for a while it can feel like you're working for it. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And I think that like, we've just gotten really good over the years, especially I think this past year, about like organizing things and being able to tie things in together, of like having, like we always kind of had a good repurposing process, but I think that we just like 2018 was like, we killed it. I think that it just made it so much easier for me, for my team, for you, like all around. It just was super smooth. And I think that it allowed us to kind of see some like other things too that might have been missed. I think that like repurposing and having a really good process around that allowed us to kind of look at different things that might have been missing, or like, oh, hey, there's this topic that I know that you talk about, but you don't really have very many posts about it or something. We're like, this is something to dive into a little bit deeper, something like that.
Yes, and actually it's what made me commit to live streams every week in this group, because Megan was kind of like, so we really like dialed this up. It needs like a fraction of your time each week. What I think is missing is that you're not on video enough. And I was like, 100% that's what's missing. And now I feel like I can commit to that space for it. And so, yeah, it helped us see where the gaps were, whether that was on topics or on platforms or whatever. And it just like really became a well-oiled machine. And I feel like as a business owner that's online, for me, content equals money, right? Like my content is my money maker, always, always, always. And so I feel like we finally started, we've always had a process, but I feel like this year we upped our game in like treating content like money. Like we're never lighting it on fire anymore. We're never creating something that doesn't go other places. Like, in other words, you always want your money to be making money for you. And I feel like we've made content that, like this thing where it like gathers interest and momentum for us. And so I think that that is what was such a game changer for me. Is one, it's very, it makes me feel very, I'm going to use the word safe, but maybe that's the wrong way, but it makes me feel very safe and good that like the thing that makes me the most money, we take care of really well. Right? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like if I gave you $2,000, you're not going to like throw it all over your floor and walk on it. You're going to be like, I'm going to put that in an envelope and keep it in a nice little safe place. And I feel like that's what we finally like dialed in the process for doing with our content. Like we're not just like creating it and throwing it all over the floor everywhere and like stepping on it and like hoping that we don't lose it. We're like, we're going to treat this thing like the money it is. And we're going to like give it that care and attention. Right.
Yeah. And I think that like, and I do think that you talk about this with money as well, but like kind of the same thing where like your energy is still in it. Like, yes, we're repurposing. Yeah. Yes, we are kind of reusing a lot of content and putting it in different platforms and all of that. But like you are still very much in all of your content in the way that like your energy is behind everything still, and you're still checking in with everything. You're still editing, you're still putting your touch on and updating it. And I think that has been really important, because if you're totally hands off, I think that there becomes like this detachment, like in the bad sense of like, you're not present with it and your energy is no longer behind it. And therefore like, it's not, like a lot of times if your content is not like performing, quote unquote, like performing well, a lot of time it's because the energy behind it is somehow disconnected.
I couldn't agree with that more. This will probably surprise people, but to this day, I still am the one that posts in my Facebook group every single day. because I want to know what content is going out that day. I want to know what my people are going to be talking about. I want to know what we're putting in front of them. I want to know what they care about. I want to like it. I mean, it's not like I didn't look at it earlier in the week and make tweaks to it and whatever, but I'm still the one that posts it daily for that exact reason that Megan said, because I want my energy in it with my people, right? And I'm not saying that has to be your process or not, but I'm just saying, to Megan's point, you absolutely have to find the way to keep your energy and excitement in it. But it doesn't mean that you have to be writing it every single day, day to day, and like freaking out about it. So I think that's it. Okay, so let's recap. That was a whole lot. Okay, so clarity on what we were doing and who was doing what, focus, and staying focused even when things were maybe working, not working, but like actually diving deeper into the process and not like spinning off. Team, lots about team, and just like finding the right people and caring about relationship over pretty much everything if you want to build a long-term supportive team. And number 4, repurpose your content. Seriously, game changer. And at the beginning of your business, set up a system that's storing your content so you can eventually repurpose it. Like, you might be at different stages and phases of that, but like, and I think it would be easy to be new and listening to this and being like, yeah, the repurposing one or that isn't super applicable. Trust me, it is, because how I saved my content from day one is what makes it easier for us now.
Totally. Yeah.
Okay. Anything else you want to add? Can I tell them something?
Yes.
Okay. It's ready.
Yes.
The demonstration, like I have the vision. I'm like, this is what we're doing. And I pretty much like begged Megan to do it because she's amazing. And you guys need to hear this from not me really, but from her too, in the biggest way. But I'm like, details, like,
yeah.
Can we, yeah?
Okay. Yeah.
So Megan and I are going to do a content repurposing workshop because of this exact reason. I swear it was like, I can't even tell you, like, boom, mind-blowing game changer for me last year. And I definitely have a lot I can share on it, but I can't do it without Megan because she's the one that's managing the entire back-end process of that. So we're going to run it together. I'll share from my perspective on like how I create it, how I think about it, how I repurpose in a way that actually feels good, how I keep my energy in it, how I keep it fresh, how I feel excited about it. And Megan's going to share from the back end of like, what are the actual processes we use? Like, how do we get it multiple places? What are our templates? Like, what do we do with it specifically, right?
Yeah, and in like different stages too, right? Where like whether you're just starting to write your content and it's kind of like you said, finding a place to store it and kind of like keep it all in one place and care for it and all of that, or whether you have been writing content for years and you're ready to kind of start repurposing and reusing that content in a way that doesn't feel like you're just kind of saying the same thing or like kind of just regurgitating information over and over.
Yes, exactly. Rita said she wished she had done that from the beginning, had a good system to store her content. She's super glad she has it now because it was a game changer for sure. I think it's just not something we think about in it. Like, so often in this industry, and I was guilty of this too, but like, we just do not take a long-term vision of our business. We're just trying to get through the day to day. And I think that's been another game changer of having like a great team, is that I get to take that long-term view and I get to be like, if this is where we're going, come on, let's move. And they get to help me move. And I also think that speaks to the idea of like, I think, coach versus team. And I don't think you have to choose, but I think a lot of new entrepreneurs are like trying to navigate their way in between some of that. And I feel like if you don't have the vision and you're not clear and you don't know your steps, get a coach because you're going to confuse the fuck out of a team. If you know exactly what you need to get done and you're just repeatedly and constantly not having enough time or not getting it done, don't hire a coach, get a fucking team, right?
Yeah.
Do you agree with that?
Yeah, for sure. I think that like, it definitely, like, you can hire the most amazing team, but if you don't have that clarity and groundedness behind it, like, it's going to be a complete waste of money. It's going to just be frustrating for both you and them. And you're not going to get the actual results that you normally would if you would have had that kind of knowing exactly what you're looking for.
Yeah. And conversely, like I've had discovery calls with some people and been like, I don't think you need a coach. Like, I think you need somebody implementing this shit for you. Like, you're coming to me saying, I know exactly what I want to do over the next year. It looks like this, it looks like this. And now I just have to like figure out how to find the time. And I'm like, well, I can't create time. So you should probably find a team, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
So anyway, that's like a good perspective to think about. And again, you can have both. Like I've had coach and team together most of the time, but it's just this idea of like, know what you need to get done and how, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
Andrea says, wow, this way of thinking about content is amazing. Content and energy makes so much sense. I have moments of inspiration and can definitely feel the energy. And then there's other moments I feel the struggle when I'm forcing it. Yeah. So this method of repurposing sounds amazing. 100%. Like, trust me, when I was like deep in my divorce, like I wasn't like, ooh, you know what I want to talk about today is ideal client. I was like, oh, I don't want to get off the couch, you know? So like that was super useful. Or just like if you're having a week where you're busy, like the inspiration might just not be flowing, but it doesn't mean there's something wrong. It's just business, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Emily's interested in the workshop. Rita said I would have in no way been ready for using a team right at the beginning, but at this point in my business, it's the implementation. Exactly. Cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right. So, let's tell them how they can. We don't have the workshop date picked yet, so we just have a waitlist page, right?
Correct. Yes. So, I mean, soon.
Yeah, we want to do it really soon.
Yeah.
I had the retreat this week and stuff, so we just like hadn't been able to get it on our calendar, but Megan and I are talking at the end of this week, and so we'll have a date probably in the next few days.
Yeah. But there's a wait list. So I think it's alituplife.com/content workshop. Is that right?
I just love you. You're always right.
I feel like that's what I would have done. So
yeah, it's alituplife.com/content workshop.
Perfect. Yeah. So you can sign up for the wait list, and then we'll send out an email as soon as we have a date and time, and you can get all the info. But yeah, we'll probably have a date within the next week or so, I would say.
Yeah. And if you do sign up, we're going to ask you when you sign up, like, what do you want to hear from us? Like, we have an outline and we have it built out what we want to talk to you about, but we're also like very available to tweak that if we notice that you have like a need that we haven't even thought of. So just know that if you sign up, like, tell us exactly what you need and we'll make sure it's in there.
For sure.
Okay. Thank you for listening to our Game Changers. I think this went super long and we also had tech issues. So all of you that stuck in here with us, like, I just love and appreciate you so freaking much. And also I feel like I've just been yakking on live stream for like weeks because of the partnership. So like, bless you for still listening to me. I think Megan stole the show today. So that was a good change of pace, but I am going to answer the final partnership questions. I literally have them sitting in front of me. I have less than 3 pages left, which I'm thinking is like about 40 minutes, and I'll really try to keep it at that. Megan's laughing. You're not keeping it at that. Let's be serious. So we're going to do it Wednesday at 4 p.m. Eastern. We'll put a reminder in the group about that. But Wednesday, 4 p.m., final partnership cues. Ooh, Rita, I agree. Rita thinks that you should be on my lives more and that you're awesome on video.
Oh, thank you, Rita.
Maybe
I can't.
Maybe we could do like a quarterly or monthly review together.
Ooh, that would be fun. Yes. Oh no, Natalia got an error page.
Okay, we'll figure it out.
We'll figure it out.
Super helpful. See, shit happens. It ain't a big deal.
Put it together this morning. It's fine. Yeah. So you should be fine. If you guys got if the error page is just the thank you. Yeah,
that's fine.
That's fine. You're on the wait list. You're good.
Let's tell them how they can find out about this. So
yes.
Beautiful.
Thank you guys.
alituplife.com/content workshop. We love you all. So grateful to you. And I'll see you Wednesday at 4. Thank you, Megan.
Thank you. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.